Good morning. Our service this morning is based on the work of Wall Kimmerer, botanist, author, and member of the Potawatomi Nation. In her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, she explains the concept of the honorable harvest. Each person speaking today will share one of the precepts of this important Indigenous wisdom and offer some of their own reflections. I am grateful for each member of First Parish who has studied the book together and is making an offering of their own thoughts and experience. To begin our worship this morning, I open with a recognition of the land upon which we live. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded territories of the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pawtucket, Wabanaki Confederacy, and the Wampanoag peoples. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this territory, and we honor and respect the many Indigenous people still living on these lands. In making this acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty, and we commit to dismantling the systems of oppression that have displaced Indigenous peoples. And now, as we prepare our hearts and minds for worship, let us listen to our centering music, which is Colors Dance by George Winston.
Good morning and welcome on this beautiful day and the beautiful week of Thanksgiving. So welcome to all our members, and we have Sarah and Toby here for the first time if you want to welcome them later. Please, I have a couple announcements. Please check your email for a personalized invitation from the first Widening the Circle of Concern session. Service, it will be held after the service on December 12th. This first session will focus on the UA reports, findings, and recommendations from the UU Theology chapter. I'm going to invite Vicki up. She's going to give us a report on our annual fundraiser.
Good morning. Do you want to know? So the auction numbers are in. With the help of all of who participated in our grateful auction, we raised $28,593 for the church. Thank you. Yeah. I would like to thank all the donors and bidders who for their support. And it was a very competitive and fun night last night. Thank you. Last but not least, it takes a team to make the event successful. I would like to thank Tom Rich for building the catalog. I think Tom is over there. Thank you, Tom. Richard Jobling and Pete Tasker for operating our online software system, Octria, and doing all the support. They're still working on it last night after. Thank you. And then also Kate Cochran for being the co-MC last night. It was really fun. Alma Kadari and Dave Horton for running a smooth and safe Zoom for us. Thank you. And also, I wanted to thank our staff members, Pratik, for the visual announcement. He has sent it multiple times out there and getting the attention. Mia Roop for accepting the donations and answering questions. Thank you so much for all your support and a lot of hard work together. Please consider to participate next year for the auction, and it's a really great event to get connected with the community. A couple logistics things. One is a donor and winner statement already sent out. Please keep a lookout for it. And also, donor, please send out the information to the winners of your donation for pickup arrangement. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, next, another announcement. Join us to decorate the parish hall for Christmas Eve by purchasing a poinsettia through the admin office or Mia. She's here today. The cost is $20 for an 8-inch pot, and you may take it home after the service. And if you want to honor someone, put their name on the order, and it will be in the order of service Christmas Eve. And we are very happy that Reverend Kathleen Hepler will serve as the sabbatical minister while Reverend Ann is on her sabbatical from January till April. Now we'll do the candle lighting. Give thanks, feel alive, know love. As we light this flame, we remember friends and loved ones near and far, and we give thanks. As the fire burns brightly, we open our minds and hearts to renew new ways of being, and we feel alive. As the room glows with warmth and kindness, we extend our circle ever wider to welcome those who want to come in, and we know love. Now please join in the affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. And our introit song is Morning Song, Cherokee Amazing Grace.
In the traditional Onondaga Nation, it is said that there is a river of words as old as the people themselves, known in their language as the words that come before all else, or greetings and thanks to the natural world. This message of peace and appreciation for the earth sets gratitude as the highest priority and is still spoken at ceremonial gatherings and meetings held by the 5 nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Everyone, please respond to each statement with the italicized words, "And now our minds are one." As we look upon the faces around us, let us bring our minds together as one as we give thanks to each other as people. And now our
minds are one. We are thankful to our Mother the Earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. And now,
with one mind we honor and thank all the fish life in the water and all the food plants we harvest from the garden.
We gather our minds together to send our greetings and thanks to all the beautiful animal life of the world who walk about with us. And now our minds are one.
We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst, for providing strength and nurturing life for all beings.
We put our minds together as one and thank all the birds who move and fly above our heads. They were given the gift of beautiful songs, and each morning they greet the day. And now our minds.
We are grateful to the powers we know as the four winds. We hear their voices in the air as they refresh us and purify the air we breathe. And now our minds are one.
We now send greetings and thanks to our eldest brother, the sun. He is the source of all the fires of life. And now
Our thoughts are one. We now turn our thoughts to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. And now our minds are one.
Please join in our opening hymn, Come Ye Thankful People. This week of Thanksgiving, we have many things to be thankful for. And let us give the.
Honorable Harvest, Part 1. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you so that you may take care of them. Well, I gave a lot of thought to this, but the things that jumped out to me immediately were my pets and the gardens that I tend. My dogs love me unconditionally. I love them and treat them like the gifts that they are. They give me joy daily. I give them lots of good attention and fill their simple needs, such as letting them outside consistently and feeding them at the appointed times. I am grateful for their attention and play with them, which they love. I laugh out loud with them. Whenever I'm gone from home and I have left the dogs for several hours, I'm concerned for them, and I want to get home to take care of them. The dogs know me and can anticipate my moves. I feel it's important for me to take care of them, and they obviously know how to take good care of me. Gardening has always been important to me. I remember standing in my grandfather and grandmother Roop's garden in Millinocket, Maine, and admiring them for growing and canning vegetables. Then it was my father's garden that I got to observe, and I began to understand the slowing down process necessary to grow a successful garden. It became obvious to me that the more I became knowledgeable, the more the garden would give back. Knowledgeable about soil, organic nutrients, and the plants themselves. It's required patience and love to understand this garden. It has required inquisitiveness and real strategy at times. There have been many failures, but the successes are what we remember, and the more I learn to take care of the garden, the better it takes care of me.
Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life. And this is what I took from this. Kimmerer emphasizes that it is essential that we think of the life we're taking in our nourishment as a who, not an it. Oh, my glasses, sorry. Thus, it's important to speak to the fruits, the leeks, and the deer, to tell who we are and to respect their lives before we ask for their lives. It's part of a cycle to ask, to take, and to give back to the world. Since humans can't produce carbon with sunlight, we are dependent on energy produced by plants or on animals who have eaten those plants. It is deeply important that we consume in a way that does justice to the lives we take. In our contemporary world, many of us produce neither plants nor animals, and we don't even know their names or the lives they have led before their deaths. As responsible people, we need to address this conundrum. Part of being human is to understand and struggle with the inescapable tension that exists between honoring life and providing food for our own lives. How can we eat in a way that does justice to the lives we take for our own survival?
Each of us are giving one of the guidelines for the honorable harvest, and each of our reflections begins with that guideline. The guideline that I was asked to do was ask permission before taking and abide by the answer. Wall Kimmerer teaches us that we are part of the cycle of consuming, as Bobby just said. As human beings, we must feed on the carbon transmuted by others. In order to live, I must consume, in the age-old process of the exchange of a life for a life, the endless cycling between my body and the body of the world. Asking permission of a plant before we harvest shows respect for the personhood of the planet. Assessing whether or not it is time to harvest, if that plant is healthy enough or plentiful enough to reproduce, means that we must live according to the needs of the plants, not just our own hunger or our own impatience. The honorable harvest also teaches us to take only that which is given. This is a difficult concept. When we are picking berries, we take only what is ripe, what the plant has given. But when we extract oil from the Alberta tar sands, for example, and we destroy the land in the process, we are not mutually accountable. If we take only what is given, we have a way to restore the natural world.
Give thanks for what you have been given. Giving thanks and acknowledging gratitude seem like very simple things. Oh. But giving thanks regularly can change the way you look at the world and your place in it. A couple of small things that I do each day make a difference to me. In the morning, after I get up and before breakfast, I do a brief yoga session. I face a window to see outside and say to myself that I am grateful for this new day and for the small good things that the day will bring and the small good things I will do, hopefully. At the end of each day, I write in my journal what I'm grateful for that day. It can be as small as watching the sunset or seeing a rabbit hopping across my front yard, or a squirrel intently nibbling on a nut, oblivious of my presence. I also share a blessing when I'm with family and friends for a meal. It may be a very simple blessing. We are grateful for this meal and for the chance to gather together to enjoy it and to enjoy each other's company. The next guideline is share what you have been given. The Potawatomi Nation of Upper New York State has a tradition that offers a beautiful example of giving, of sharing. This is the traditional giveaway, which they call the Minidewak, a frequent feature of powwows, where there's also dancing, singing, and sharing food and drink, and which usually happens in the summer. In our world, people celebrating life events, birthdays, weddings, big anniversaries, usually expect to receive gifts in their honor. In the Potawatomi tradition, this European settler way is turned upside down. It is the honored one who gives the gifts, who piles laid out blankets high with gifts to share good fortune with everyone in the circle celebrating the event. Every guest chooses one gift. If the giveaway is small and personal, every gift will be handmade. Often a whole community will work all year long on gifts for guests. No matter what the gift is, a black ash basket or a pot holder, the sentiment is the same. Generosity is a moral and a material imperative where people live close to the land and the well-being of one is linked to the well-being of all. Most important, perhaps, according to Robin Wall Kimmerer of Braiding Sweetgrass, wealth among traditional people is measured by having enough to give away.
This week at Thanksgiving, we have a lot to be thankful for. Let us give thanks to the beautiful First Parish Church and for during our offering and give as generously as you're able. You may contribute online, which the information is up here, or through your QR code on the program.
Trees were
Another of the guidelines, take only what you need. Use it respectfully. Never waste what you have taken. The guidelines for the honorable harvest are not written down or even consistently spoken of as a whole. They're reinforced in small acts of everyday life. They are rules of sorts that govern our taking, shape our relationships with the natural world, and rein in our tendency to consume. In thinking about a precious natural resource, water, there are many ways we can use it respectfully. One thing I do is when I'm waiting for the water to heat up for the dishes, I save the water in a container to water the plants. Let's take a minute just to talk to your neighbor about ways you might save or use respectfully water or some other resource. And those on Zoom, write it in the chat.
That's another one. I hate to break this party up. It's really seems productive. Maybe we should figure out how to continue those discussions after the service. Wonderfully done. Oh, put it up? Okay. Hi. Back to the honorable harvest. Never take more than half. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not mine. Never take more than half. Yeah. Leave some for others. Never take the first. Never take the last. So I had some good memories of this type of thing, and I had some sort of not so good. So I was living in Culver City, California when the 9/11 attacks happened. The next morning, I went to get a copy of the New York Times at the local store. Many people were there looking for the same newspaper. I went to the rack, and the person in front of me grabbed at least 5 of the papers, leaving 2. There were several upset people behind me, and I thought the person who took several was so obviously in the wrong, and so I said something about sharing with others, and then I ended up meeting with a nasty attitude. So it ended up it was a sad day for America. It was even sadder for me because of that type of behavior that I witnessed after that tragedy. So that's my example of how not to be. How to be, I think, is more along the lines of this. I'm reminded of an anthropologist's experience when visiting and studying children in a particular Aboriginal community in which a prize would be given to the winner of a game, a children's game. When the game ended and the winning child was given the prize, she waited until all the other children were in a circle with her and then handed every other child portions of her prize before she took her own portion. This is an example to aspire to, egalitarian, altruistic, the things that we think and feel on a daily basis here and act on. We're all capable of equally sharing in the joys and successes of each other. Also, understanding that others have needs as well as your own, and then doing something about it. Live generously, and you will spread joy and love more easily.
Harvest in a way that minimizes harm. I take this to mean when you're to what you're harvesting, individual harm to what you're harvesting, but also their other species and also the whole ecology. And I think if we follow all of these precepts, we will be doing this. So I want to consider our current practices. For example, the unnecessary and lethal harm that we inflict on forests when we clear cut them, or on Mother Earth when we level entire mountaintops simply to harvest their coal, or when we poison her with pesticides, the harm we do to wild animals when we just hunt them for sport, or trap them inhumanely. Or how about our domesticated animals that we cage in small prison-like pens and feed unnatural foods and antibiotics and hormones? So one question to ask is, how can we help change these systemic assaults on honorable harvests? Some things are obvious and suggested by Wall Kimmerer. Use renewable resources, use technologies that inflict the least harm, and look to Pachamama herself to give us solutions. And there's a whole field growing now called biomimicry, which is looking to the solutions that nature already has. Also, most fundamentally to me, is how to change our own relationship with Mother Earth. And seeing Mother Earth as all, containing all her creatures, all life. And understanding that we're part of an interdependent web of conscious life. If we understood this, we would not want to harm somebody who is also us. Finally, I had a fun time playing with the idea of ways to think about harvest. And so I'm going to ask, how can we use this when we think about harvesting ideas? So are we going to steal, plagiarize, or denigrate somebody's ideas? Or do we listen deeply and respectfully, including to those we disagree with? Including our children and our students? Do we give them credit, learn from them, express our gratitude, along with our own considered opinions?
Our anthem this morning is With a Voice of Joy and Thanksgiving.
With a voice of joy and thanksgiving, sing praise to God. With a voice of joy and thanksgiving, sing praise to God on this holy day. Sing praise to God on this holy day.
Mine is to give a gift in reciprocity for what you have taken. And this is a story from the indigenous people. It's the story of Natabozo. Way back in the beginning, Natabozo, the original indigenous man, was meandering through villages to note who was flourishing and who wasn't. Dismayed at finding untended gardens, fish nets in need of repair, and the children not being taught the wise ways of indigenous living, Nanabozo was deeply worried. He saw people lying under maple trees, mouths open, catching the sweet syrup from the generous trees. They were taken for granted, the many gifts of the Creator. Knowing his responsibilities, Natabozo decided to pour buckets of water from the river into the maple trees, thereby diluting the syrup. Today, maple syrup flows freely, but with only a trace of the sweetness to remind us of possibility and responsibility. That's why it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. In great appreciation for this gift of delicious maple syrup, most of us use it sparingly on our pancakes. And if eating in private and wishing to savor every bit of taste, we even lick the plate after the pancakes are finished.
Oh, my goodness. I love that. The final principle is sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will live together. Will last forever. We have to live together, but anyway. This is the principle of reciprocity, which has already been mentioned, and to me is the capstone of the honorable harvest principles. In my view, it's actually a natural law, because I believe that all life is programmed to give and receive with joy, with generosity and joy. That's the only way that an interdependent system or web of life can survive, if everybody does it. And sadly, we all, as humans, most of us, have forgotten this, succumbing to fear and greed. We don't lick the plate. We want more. We're reaping now the severe and perhaps catastrophic consequences of one species mostly taking and not giving back. So what actions can we take towards sustaining Earth? So Wall Kimmerer suggests consuming with awareness and expressing gratitude, using ceremony and the arts and science as expressions of gratitude and reciprocity, working for land stewardship, modeling acts of everyday practical reverence toward all life. And I will throw in political action as well. But again, I'm repeating myself. I can't help it. It's so important to me. How can we change our cultural story of separation, limited resources in a zero-sum world, meaning there's not enough to go around and you got to grab yours first? And hierarchical organization, and until recently, males at the top, not just of human society, but all of the earth and life. So we got to find something closer to the indigenous way of looking at life. of our Earth as Turtle Island, and we were the latest comers. And to understand that we are just one, but essential, but one part of all this beautiful web of life, and that we must collectively work to sustain it before it is no longer able to sustain us. And in the wake of so little government action at COP26, I think it's up to civil society to act in a concerted way to change the paradigm and sustain our Mother Earth. That's all of us. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to all of our speakers this morning for sharing your study, for taking the time to think deeply about the work that we're reading. And when I spoke to everybody, they just said, we hope that everybody reads Braiding Sweetgrass and that you take these lessons to heart. If we can change our own community, we can change and have that ripple effect of change in the world around us. So thank you, everybody. I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. I do have my Google Voice phone working this week, so if you text me, I should be able to share your joys and sorrows if you want me to share them in the pastoral prayer. So take some time to think about what it is in your own life or what it is in the world that gives you joy, and think about what it is that most concerns you today. And if you want to share that, please send it. Will put it up. Yep, there it is, the text right there. And thank you. Loving and gracious Spirit of life, we honor the wisdom, the stories, the music, and the teachings of those who cared for this land from the days of earliest memory. We honor also the suffering that has been and continues to be a part of the Indigenous experience. Help us all to find ways to shift the centuries of oppression into actions that can bring us all to a place of mutual care and affection. May we as individuals and collectively as a congregation work together to bring more love, more justice, and more peace into this fractious world. We lift up the trial of Ahmaud Arbery. We pray that justice may be done, that people will be held accountable for the murder that was committed. Today is my beautiful daughter Renee's 13th birthday, not my daughter, but someone here. And in gratitude for the health of my daughter Annie and our new premature granddaughter Elizabeth Rose, after a very scary couple of weeks of the mother being rushed to an ambulance in a hospital in Albany, New York, that could give her a higher level of care and give her new premature daughter time in the NICU. Gratefully, both are healthy now and are home enjoying being a new family. This is from Mary in Vermont. We see you, Mary. Thank you. We continue to hold John Schmitz and Bob Erickson in our hearts. And Brenda wanted me to let you know that Larry Prusik was in the hospital and was very ill. She told me yesterday, but we have great hope that he will soon be home. She asks that you do not call for now, but she knows that you hold them both in your hearts and care for them. My friends, as we prepare our homes for the celebration of Thanksgiving, let us use the lessons that we have been taught and know the ways of the ones who take care of us so that we can take care of them. Let us take only what we need so there will be more to share with others. Let us never forget those who may feel isolated and alone during these holidays. Wherever we are, let us feel joyful gratitude for the gifts of the earth. May we take delight in each facet of preparation, each shared conversation, and each taste of the meals that we will prepare this week. Thank you, gracious and loving Spirit of life, for the abundance that you have provided. Amen. Please rise as you are able and join in singing our closing hymn, We Gather Together. As we go forth today, may we remember that we never walk out into the world alone. We stand on the shoulders of brave and generous ones who have gone before. We walk beside companions ready to catch us when we fall. We hold memories of dear ones in our hearts who keep us connected to our center. In the presence of all the beauty and the bounty of this world, let us be truly grateful, and let us remember to sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever. Have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Please be seated for our postlude, which is the voluntary in D major by William Boyce.
So how did you like the service?